Heads up, this is not a political video and this is not a shot at one person or multiple people. This is just the facts, the way I see them. Now, I'm talking to some people and they think the proposed tariffs will hit, the mega corporations, big governments. But is that really true? Let's explore this a little further. First up, a disclaimer. I am not an economics expert. I do have an MBA, but economics was never my strong point. But I have been doing some research because I've seen so much conflicting information regarding what the tariffs will do. Will it be bad? Will it be good? Well, I've done my own research and I'm sharing it with you. And always, I urge you to do your own research before you formulate an opinion. I heard many people being interviewed that says, yes, put those tariffs on China. I want the government to pay those. Well, just a minute. It isn't the Chinese government that pays the tariff we're putting on. 124% tariff would be paid by people in the U.S. that are importing these goods. So it's really paid mainly by U.S. citizens, not by the Chinese government. But that's not the whole story. So I think we have to look back a little bit to understand what might happen now. In 2018, when Trump was then president also, he put on, I believe, 25% tariff on Chinese goods. So what happened in the 6 years since? Let's look at it and to see if the outcomes might be the same with the 124% tariffs. Now you're going to notice sometimes I'm looking down because I do want to glance at my notes, make sure I say things correctly and not misrepresent figures. So in this case, in 2018, with a 25% tariff on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods, it was supposed to protect American industries, right? But instead, we saw prices spike, jobs drop, and an extra average of $1,300 on each U.S. family. So I don't think it necessarily accomplished what it set out to do. And so here's my question. If 25% tariff did that, what is 124% tariff going to do to your wallet? So let's look. What does this mean possibly for your grocery bill, your small business, your retirement income? Let's take a closer look. So again, let's go back. Okay, now it's 2018. And these tariffs were supposed to, kind of be the silver bullet, right? Bring jobs back home, protect our industries, and fix unfair trade. But did it? I'm all for all three of those things, but I'm not sure if tariffs was the way to go. Let's look at it in further depth. According to a 2020 federal study, jobs were lost, not gained. Manufacturing employment was reduced by 1.4%. Well, why if it's supposed to bring jobs back? Because what happened is those manufacturers had to pay more for their components, so they had less money. So they reduced the workforce. They did not create more jobs. And then China retaliated, right? They slapped tariffs on our exports like soybeans and machinery. And suddenly American producers lost Chinese buyers. It was just too expensive for them. So that's not exactly the manufacturing boom that we were promised. So what was the lesson we should have learned? Well, tariffs sound tough, and sometimes they're a good idea. But it can be painful for those of us at home. While I was making this video, I started thinking, and the camera I'm recording on is a DJI camera. Love it. Made in China. The laptop I use to edit my videos is a Lenovo. Made in China. And probably the phone, TV, or laptop you're watching this video on. Good likelihood that it was also made in China. And if you look around in your house, in your kitchen, your appliances, your car parts, how much of your goods, even your prescription medicine, was made in China. Now, there has been a change. President Trump announced that there won't be these tariffs on smartphones and laptops. So that's good, because that is something that businesses really, really depend on. But in one way, why is that industry given out and others not, and others going to have to pay more for their goods? Is that fair? So you can still expect prices like on appliances, electric vehicles, many of the items you use to accelerate because of these tariffs. Or those same replacement parts may not be available because it's just too expensive for manufacturers to pay for them and bring them into the country. So can we expect things to be different this time? Well, many economists are worried that inflation, which was kind of going down or at least staying stable, may spike again, just like it did after the 2018 tariffs. So that wouldn't be good, because that would mean more money out of your wallet also. And in short term, businesses may hike prices. So again, more money out of your wallet to pay for your everyday items, be it your groceries or other items you depend on. See, you're paying that tariff, not the company that purchased the item and not the Chinese government. But we have to look at long term, right? Sometimes you have to take the pain, right? Short-term pain for long-term gain. Not sure based on the 2018 figures. As cost of living rises, then employers are forced to pay their workers more, and that means that the finished product will also cost more, which again, out of your wallet. Not good. And even with our 2018 tariffs, China is still a major importer. In 2024, we imported $438.9 billion in goods from China. And that's about 13.3% of all inputs into the United States. Now, that is down from 21.6% in 2018, but that's still a significant share of what we find on our store shelves. Did it decrease what we import from China? Yes, but it didn't end up meaning that more of that was right here made in the United States. Our trade gap remained the same. We just purchased these items from other countries, just not China. And if you're a big business, but especially if you're a small business, it's very, very confusing, because it's been said there's going to be this tariff. No, there's going to be this. Now we're going to put this. No, we aren't going to put this. Very, very poor communication. And small businesses don't have a big kitty, right? It can really, really affect them. And if they don't know how to plan, that can be disastrous. And let me give you just a small snippet of what can happen. My son is a vendor at various trade shows, and a lot of his product he has made, he designs it, but it's made in China. So he cannot pay 124% of what that product would have cost them, because guess what? Nobody in the US would pay that for that item. So right now he has stopped any current orders. He's looking at possibly other countries, maybe Vietnam, to produce the goods. But the real truth is, Americans might say, yes, we want stuff here, bring it back. But we're not willing to take the money out of our wallet and pay for what that item would cost them because of our standard of living. So, would this hurt China? Probably. And it would then help another Asian country. Doesn't necessarily bring more money back in the good old USA. So let's break this down. Maybe you're a retiree. What does that mean for you? Well, fixed incomes won't stretch as far. There could be a lot of market volatility, as we've seen, up and down stocks, which could rattle your retirement accounts. And drug costs could rise if supply chains get squeezed, and that could mean more out of your pocket. So what if you're a small business? We've talked about this a little. Higher prices on inventory or components, narrower profit margins, and supply chains delay and uncertainty. And we lived through those supply chain problems with the pandemic, right? Don't want to go back to that. And just for all of you, the everyday families, what does it mean? Higher costs on clothing, electronics, home goods, school supplies, holiday shopping, all more expensive, and indirect costs adding up everywhere. And is there a bigger ripple effect? Probably. You know, China originally imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, I think 15 to 25% on items like fruits and pork and aluminum. And that affected, again, American businesses who are selling to China. And when it got really tense, it went over a bigger market, like even soybeans. And by 2019, China had raised its level of tariffs to U.S. goods in levels that we hadn't seen for decades upon decades. And it deeply impacted U.S. exporters and basically shifted trade to Brazil, Russia, and the global south. And Vietnam, Mexico, and other countries gained in that. It was good for them. And also then our U.S. leadership was kind of questioned. Our allies were pursuing deals themselves with China, and our worldwide influence waned a bit. And of course, we are definitely seeing that now. So before the tariffs, I think, strained our global alliances and fragmented the world economy. And again, let me emphasize this point. The 2018 tariffs did not reduce the U.S. trade deficit in 2018. It stayed the same, it just changed where we imported our goods from. So that is fine if we want to punish China, right? But it still doesn't help us with our trade deficit. So the supplier in this case didn't have a Chinese flag, just another country's flag. And again, no expert. I don't have solutions for all the big problems. But I'm wondering, a lot of countries subsidize essential goods manufacturing. I'm thinking we're doing that to a certain extent, I believe, with chip manufacturers. And maybe we should do that with other essential goods too, like pharmaceuticals. Instead of in China and India, and we had a problem with that with the pandemic, having them actually produced here. And medical supplies, remember, not enough masks, and rare earth elements, fertilizer components, and critical manufacturing inputs. Maybe we need to look, instead of doing tariffs, really make sure that the manufacturing of these essential items come back and are done in the good old USA. Okay, TANSTAFL. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch, right? Whether it's higher prices through tariffs or through taxes and subsidies, we all still pay. But my question is, what has the most lasting value? Is it tariffs, or is it subsidies, or is it something else? Yes, we need fair trade. Yes, we need strong industries in the U.S. But we also need to stop making the same mistakes. So I hope this video helped explain what I'm seeing for the tariff situation, how it might affect you personally. But I would love to hear your take on it after you do your research. Please comment below. And I hope you subscribe for more straight talking, prepping policy, and protecting what matters most, your family. As always, subscribe and share the knowledge. Thumbs up. Thank you.